When you hear Tony Rice, you know it's him. And there's no better way to learn from another musician than to just listen to them. Tony's super smooth sound and how he would combine styles like bluegrass and jazz to create something new and unique. He always played such a great solo rendition of the American folk tune Shenandoah. So let's hear a short clip of me attempting to play it in his style. So he always played this tune differently, just like he did most things, but I'm going to show you some of the things he focused on. And the first thing, of course, is he played in drop D. So this E gets dropped down to a D because the tune is in D, or the way he played it, and that would just give you a bigger, fuller sound. And then he'd use a lot of things called triads, which if you know what that is, it's just basic chords like 3, tri, little shapes. So you learn these shapes, you know, and then you can play them all over the place. And puts the melody on top, so it's right? And then the next thing is within those triads, he's playing a lot of hammer-ons and pull-offs. So instead of just playing this one like this, he goes like this, and usually fingers it like that. And the first time I was trying to figure out some of this stuff, like this one up here, I could not figure that out for the life of me because I was so used to playing it like this, till I really figured out, oh, he's playing it with this really unusual fingering to get this hammer-on down below. I was so happy I finally figured that out. And then even trickier one is this one here. I'd always play this D shape, you know, like a D, but he plays it like this, and he would just hammer on that high note up there. And then the last thing I'll mention is that he plays like, you know, he played like a piano player a lot. And he'd do that by playing with the hybrid picking. So using his fingers, which in traditional bluegrass, you don't really hear much, if at all. And instead of just playing the chords like that with the pick, he might go and get his fingers on there. Works well for these just hitting the triads because you got 3 notes and he'd use these 2 fingers with the pick. And it gives you more like a piano, like more control where you play all at the same time instead of just brushing across. Like no matter how fast you go with the pick, you're still gonna hear that a little bit of like that, you know? So that's some stuff that he did with Shenandoah. Now let's hear the man himself talk about his own sound.
What makes the Tony Rice sound? Is it you or is it the instrument or a combination of the two?
Well, I think it's probably my own approach.
Okay.
Because I can play another instrument similar to mine and the two would sound almost identical.
A big part of his sound is how he did his cross-picking technique, and there's no better tune to hear him play this than his cover of Norman Blake's Church Street Blues. So cross-picking is taking little pieces of chords and playing these little 3-note patterns that a lot of people just do a down, up, down picking pattern, but he would often do a down, down, up. It gives you a little bit of a smoother sound, and it would break up a chord so you could pick around it like this and be more melodic. And he would throw in a lot of hammer-ons and pull-offs, so you get like things like that. You know, it takes a simple progression and it really spices things up. And he could play it so fast. I can't even play it with all those hammer-ons the way he did with that kind of speed. It's so smooth and so cool. Speaking of simple progressions, let's hear another attempt of mine. This one at a Tony Rice solo over Man of Constant Sorrow. Overall, I don't think I played that well at all, and a big reason for that is that I'm not Tony Rice, you know, and if I took a pass at it again, doing it my own way that's true to me, it would most certainly come out much better. But while I transcribe this, I learned so much from it, and it's something that is really great for anybody to do, is to pick out things that you hear from someone that you like and figure it out by ear and then figure out what's going on. So to show you some of the things that was going on there, you know, it's in C with a capo, so it's really the key of D, and he's climbing up, and he's outlining C chord. And this cool little thing where he's going like this, with the open G, kind of like that, and then he's doing this thing called playing in 6, where it's just playing these 2 notes you would in a C chord, but playing over here and sliding it down 2 frets, and that gives you these extensions that's going to make it sound like it's moving to the next chord, and then goes to the 4 chord to the F, and then he outlines it with a triad, and then he just focuses on just the outer one, so that's, again, playing in 6th. It's just the difference between these 2 notes. Slides it down 2 frets, so the same thing as before. And then he ends it on the 5 chord with a little bluesy lick. A little thing, the little run to bring it right back to C, and that's it.
I found myself wanting to take on so many approaches to musicianship and the rudiments of music that were done by my jazz heroes. And I got to listening and I thought, you know what? These guys have no idea what they're going to do next. They are playing in the moment.
That's so.
And that's what really makes it interesting, you know. And then, like I say, partially it was subconscious. But then, you know, as time progressed, I made more and more of a conscious effort to become more of an improvisational artist than a melodic artist.
Right.
So that's how I envision myself to this day. I'm not very much a melodic artist.
I got to do it on the fly.
I like it better
There
that way.
you go. Nothing wrong with that.
Now, most people focus on his soloing abilities, but really my favorite thing about Tony Rice is the way he plays chords. So let's check him out, how he approached playing Amazing Grace on the pizza tapes yet again. So this is just another simple progression in the key of G. So we've got, first off, G, right? And then he does this thing playing F over G. So a little F triad. You can see these triads are all over the place. They're simple chords, but the way he plays them, it makes them sound like there's these big extensions, more like jazz chords. So he does this one a lot. And then going to C, but instead of just playing a C, playing a C sus2 barred. Back to G. And then kind of, it's like, I think what is like a B minor 7, but still over the G chord. It just basically gives it like this G sus sound. And if you know what this stuff means, don't worry about this. I'm just going deeper in the theory of what he's doing, you know. Do a D over an A, and then you've got a little D sus to at 4 to a D sus 7, D7 sus 2 over A. If you want to get real fancy. Back to G. Same thing here. This time he takes the finger up in the middle, so it makes it F sus 2. Back to just kind of the regular chords. And then the last part he just goes a little extra arpeggiating of a C there. And that was just one time through that I figured out. And of course it's going to be different every time, but a lot of it, he does repeat some of these things in just different ways each time. But that's the kind of core stuff of things for chords he does on a lot of tunes. So let's hear what I think is the most important thing any guitarist can learn from Tony Rice.
I always try to approach it from a standpoint of general musicianship versus trying to show them note for note what I do. I mean, there's some of that in there, but I try to avoid that because there's nobody's going to make it sound like I do anyway, so what is the real point in showing them exactly how I do it?
Integrate some of these things yourself and put your own twist on it. So when people hear you, they know it's you. And if you want to learn from another great guitarist who's currently changing things up in bluegrass, check out this video here. because it's all about what any guitarist can learn from Billy Strings. He's another great innovator who's adding his own spice to the mix.